Alright, so this is a White Princess clip, and it's basically when Henry VII had to defend his realm because there were um, pretenders to be like, Elizabeth of York's brothers, the one that disappeared in the Tower of London. Let's put it that way. I believe they were murdered. I don't think they escaped, but that's irrelevant to that video, and we're not gonna have a discussion here of who killed the brothers, the princes in the tower. But here, what's very interesting is that obviously we have Elizabeth who arrives on a horse, and so here it is because in the show, they say that the Englishmen don't want to fight for Henry VII. His legitimacy is questioned. And so she stops them and calls, "Lords, my lords, all right." She's on a horse, which is also, and also what you can see is like she's, higher than them. So there is this idea that she, like that Elizabeth of York, is very powerful here. So, which I think is very interesting in the portrayal that we have of her, because we know so little about Elizabeth of York. Well, we do know a few things, but was she really riding horses, trying to help Henry VII having his men? Did the men really try to betray or question Henry VII's legitimacy? I think it's part of a bigger kind of discussion. I think you have to look at different sources historically, and I tend to believe that obviously all of this is made up, but let's see what's interesting in terms of history and how Elizabeth of York is portrayed, but also how her husband is portrayed.
Do you know me?
Of course, Your Grace. You are the Queen of England.
Then listen to your queen when I command you.
Okay, do you know me? My lords, my lord. Okay, whichever. All right, so you're Queen of England. So here we establish her authority. So listen to your queen when she commands you. She hasn't commanded anything. It's not like they were disrespecting her in the first place. So that's a bit odd to me. Okay.
England is invaded by a pretender and the Scots.
Okay, so here we get straight in the matter. The princes in the tower, some people believe they escaped, and then men that had different names came back and said that they were Edward and Richard, the two brothers, though Elizabeth of York's brothers, and they were contesting Henry VII's legitimacy. Here she calls them right away, well, she called one of them a pretender.
Since when have Englishmen feared Gales and Celts and run from warfare with their tails between their legs?
They say he is the true king, Richard of York.
If he were Richard, he would be my brother, and I would tell you so myself.
Okay, that's what I like here. All right, so first of all, obviously, like she's like teasing him, like, oh, you're basically cowards. It's interesting that here you have a woman doing that. And for me, what I like in this scene is obviously that reminds me of Elizabeth I, the way she could be so brutal with men in front of her, like the members of parliament, the privy councillors. I mean, she slapped some of them, the privy councillors. And with the members of parliament, she called them the feet, and she was the head. And here it's exactly what we have here in terms of portrayal. And obviously, it's Elizabeth I, grandmother. Elizabeth of York is Elizabeth I's grandmother. So I really like that scene. Now they say, he's a true king. So they say that the true king, he's the true king. So we should not fight. We basically, we would be fighting the true king. So that's why we left. And she's like, well, if he was Richard of York, my brother, I would be the one telling you. And I like that because I think we kind of dismiss the fact that in that show, it's all about allegiance. It's all about, Elizabeth of York's allegiance to her native family, the Yorks, and then like how she's going to move to become a Tudor. And some people would say, well, wait a minute, women. even if he was your brother, would you want your husband, your children, yourself to lose the throne? And I think it is a legitimate question that we can have. Would she have said, if she had recognized her brothers, would she have wanted to lose everything she's built and also endured? I think it is kind of a legitimate question. I think it is kind of an interesting question when we discuss the Princess in the Tower, the relationship with Elizabeth of York, the relationship between Elizabeth of York and Henry VII. And when a woman marries, does she become truly part of the new family? Because in many respects, she becomes, with her husband, they're both heads of the family. And so, would she want to lose all of this? Would she choose a brother over her children? Because forget about her husband, forget about Henry VII. She gave birth to Arthur. She's going to give birth to Henry, Margaret, and Mary. Would she choose her brothers over her children? What would happen to them? What would happen to her husband? What would happen to her? And I think here, I like the fact that, they made her say, well, if he was my brother, I would tell you myself. But would you? I think we're allowed to ask this question?
But he is here to kill your kin and rob England of what was never his. If you fear God, then you will honor your true king, Henry Tudor. And if you will not do it for your
Yes,
king,
Jenny.
then do it for me. The daughter of Edward IV and Queen Elizabeth Woodville, who has just passed from this life into God's hands.
Well, first of all, there's my cat here with me, obviously. Very interesting in that TV show. The most important thing here, I think we have a few things to discuss. I have to say the acting is superb. I have almost goosebumps. Beautiful actress, very talented actress. But the true king is Henry VII. But what's interesting is what she says as well. Who am I? I'm the daughter of Edward IV. And what's even more interesting is that she mentioned her mother, Elizabeth Woodville. Why is it interesting? It is interesting because it is believed that some people thought that the marriage between Edward and Elizabeth Woodville was illegitimate. Like it should have never worked because he was married before, and that the marriage had not been annulled or dissolved. So basically, he was married to two women. So basically, some people were attacking the Woodvilles on that basis, and yet she mentioned her mother, despite the fact that her mother and the name Woodville there were so many people against that house, and they had so many enemies. So I like the fact that she mentioned her father. Who am I? If you don't believe in Henry VII, but who am I? I'm the daughter of Edward IV. I'm the House of York. I'm here, your allegiance should be to me. My legitimacy could not be contested. And I think it would have worked better in so many ways if she had stopped there and not mentioned her mother. But at the same time, I like the fact that she mentioned her mother. Because obviously I don't believe that, that the marriage was, not legitimate. And I believe in their rights, and I have a lot of respect and admiration for Elizabeth Woodville. So it works quite well. But would she have really mentioned the name of her mother, given all the problems that, it would have created with, the fact that some people were like, oh, Woodville? Don't remind us of that, right? But it's quite a nice scene, and the tone is so great. Would it have happened? Probably not this way. But I like the portrayal of Elizabeth of York here, and I think it's a very powerful one. Okay, so here we have Henry Tudor, Henry VII, and here we see the army coming back with Elizabeth of York at the head of it. So everyone is very surprised. Everyone is so pleased and relieved. It's quite a scene, like, you know, we have one woman and she's leading the men. Like, it is a very powerful scene. It's a very powerful way of portraying Elizabeth of York here. And I really like that. Was it historically accurate? Probably not. But I love here how we put her back in the center of history at the role she might have played that we don't know, that we don't have any records. I like here that we are really putting her as an equal of Henry VII.
Your men are here and they support you.
You men are here and they support you. Like, she shows also like she's serving her king and her husband.
When this battle is over, you will live in peace with your families, knowing that you have done your duty to your king, your God, and to your queen.
I love this because here we have the fact that Henry VII is extremely grateful to his wife, to his queen. I really love that clip overall. I don't think it's really historically accurate. I think there are some lines that could have been rewritten a little that are a bit, you know, a bit too far. I think that we might question the fact that, you know, would she say if it was really her brother, the man who claimed to be her brother? I don't believe they survived, but, you know, like, imagine if they had survived, would it have been in her own interest to say, oh, wait a minute, we should give back everything to my brother, you know, I'll throw that crown over, you know, I don't know. But I really like that scene in terms of portraying a very strong woman, a very strong queen. I love the fact that there's like so many parallels and similarities between Elizabeth of York and Elizabeth I, like in terms of how they present themselves. Obviously, it reminds us of, you know, Kate Blanchett when she portrays Elizabeth I. There are so many parallels, and I love that. I also love the strong partnerships and almost friendships and strong relationship between Elizabeth of York and Henry VII. So overall, I think it's a very good clip, and I think it works well. Let me know in the comments down below what you think, and if you think it's a good clip or not of the White Princess. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Bye.